They say evil leaves behind a stain. Even after decades, it lingers like smoke in the walls or a whisper in the wind. In Archer's Hollow, Pennsylvania, that whisper turned into a scream no one admits they heard. Tragedy struck the quiet town when 17-year-old Grace Donnelly was found dead near the old Miller farm. Her death was labeled an isolated incident, but whispers suggested otherwise. The townspeople buried the memory quickly, hoping silence would smother the fear. But the truth has a way of clawing its way back. Grace was last seen leaving choir practice on a Thursday evening. The air was cold, with the sharp scent of falling leaves. She took the usual shortcut through the fields by the Miller barn, a path worn down by generations of teenagers. Despite countless warnings, she used it like always. The warnings, they thought, were just stories. She was found the next morning in the cornfield. Her body was positioned strangely, as if someone had arranged it. Eyes wide open, hands folded across her chest. Her shoes were gone. So was her diary. The medical report listed a single fatal blow to the back of the head. No struggle, no signs of assault. Just silence. The investigation led nowhere. The local police chief, Harold Metz, tried, but there were no leads. He questioned neighbors. He searched the barn. He asked the town for help, but everyone claimed ignorance. Theories ranged from drifters to accidents. No one wanted to admit it could be someone from Archer's Hollow. At the funeral, Grace's 12-year-old brother, Tommy, stood trembling before a town full of tight lips. He said it plainly. Someone here knows who did this. But no one was speaking. And in that silence, something deeper settled into the town's soil. Years passed, and the memory of Grace began to fade, except for those who couldn't forget. People like Marla Bishop, a lifelong resident who saw the pattern others ignored. She remembered the names from before. Elsie Rourke, 1957. Linda Keyes, 1971. Denise Albright, 1982. Different decades, same cause of death, same eerie staging. No one connected them publicly, but Marla did. She clipped articles, gathered photos, and created a grim timeline that no one in authority would acknowledge. The cases remained unsolved, but the similarities were undeniable. The same stretch of field, the same missing items, the same blow to the back of the head. Her efforts were met with cold shoulders and veiled warnings. She brought her findings to the town council, begged them to reopen the cases. They thanked her and locked the files away again, told her to let the past rest. But the past never rests in a place like Archer's Hollow. It festers. Tommy Donnelly never stopped looking. As he grew older, he carried the weight of his sister's death into adulthood. He became a journalist, driven and relentless. Every year on the anniversary of Grace's murder, he returned to Archer's Hollow. And each year, he visited the barn, not with hope, but with defiance. Then, in 2005, he received an anonymous letter. It was typed on an old typewriter, the kind that clacked with every keystroke. It read, "The barn sees everything. Check beneath the floor." That night, Tommy went back. He pried up a loose board and found a metal box. Inside were photographs, old, curling with age. They showed the victims, each alive, each unaware. One photo caught Grace in motion, turning as if someone had called her name. Her face was blurred in fright. He brought the photos to the police, but there were no fingerprints, no identifiers. The trail stalled again. Then came another letter. "He walks with a limp, wears old boots. You know him." Tommy began to dig deeper. One name surfaced, Silas Granger, a reclusive Vietnam veteran who owned a small shoe repair shop. People described him as strange but harmless, always quiet, always watching. And he did wear old boots, always. Police brought him in for questioning. He denied everything. No evidence tied him directly to the crimes. The case grew cold once again, shrouded in doubt and silence. But then, another voice broke through. In 2016, Eli Parsons, who had been 8 years old when Grace was killed, came forward. He remembered the night clearly. He'd heard something outside, gravel shifting, quiet footsteps. Peeking from his bedroom window, he saw a figure dragging something toward the trees. The man wore a hat and heavy boots. He walked with a limp. Eli had been too scared to speak back then. His father told him to forget it, but some memories refused to fade. With Eli's testimony, police secured a warrant and searched Granger's home. In the basement, they discovered film rolls and an old camera. One undeveloped roll showed a girl tied to a chair, her eyes vacant. The date on the film was 1982, but Granger was already dead. He had died of a stroke weeks before the warrant was executed. No arrest, no confession, just a quiet death in a quiet town that had protected its own silence for too long. The town exhaled, as if a collective burden had been lifted. People who once claimed ignorance suddenly recalled suspicions. But for Tommy, something still felt wrong. The evidence didn't add up. The missing items were never found. The murder intervals were too precise. And one more letter arrived before Granger died. It read, "He watched, but he didn't kill. The roots go deeper." Tommy began investigating the land itself. He unearthed an old survey from 1956, showing the Miller property once belonged to a facility called the Cornfield Institute, a private asylum shut down in 1959 after a suspicious fire. Official records stated all patients were relocated, but internal files showed 7 remained unaccounted for. One of those names was Dorian Kells, diagnosed with severe antisocial personality disorder, declared missing, presumed dead, but no body was ever found. Legends in the town told of a man in the woods, tall, gaunt, always barefoot. Kids called him the Watcher. No one thought he was real. Tommy compared the photos with old ID images from the asylum. One face matched, a figure blurred in the background of Grace's photo. It was Kells. DNA testing of recovered hair from the crime scenes confirmed it. He had been living in the woods, undetected, for decades. Silas Granger hadn't been the killer. He was a collector, a witness, maybe even an accomplice. But the true predator was Kells. What followed was even more disturbing. Records surfaced showing that the town council had long ties to the Cornfield Institute. Payments labeled as maintenance were made well into the 1980s. It appeared some officials knew what was on that land, knew about the disappearances, and they chose to stay quiet. They allowed a killer to remain free, to avoid scandal, to protect their reputations. Each murder wasn't just a tragedy, it was an act of complicity, a sacrifice to silence. Tommy published the entire story, named names, released files. The town tried to sue, but the truth was already loose. Archer's Hollow changed after that. Some left, some stayed, and pretended nothing had happened. But the whisper of guilt never truly faded, because some ghosts don't haunt. They wait for someone to finally say their name, for someone to finally speak the truth. And in Archer's Hollow, for far too long, no one spoke.